me to start, or do you want to start?
What's that?
Do you want me to start, or do you want to start? Or did you already start it?
Well, I started it, but I didn't start it.
So welcome back to another episode of All Things Acura. I'm Justin.
I'm Matt.
And we come at you with a lot of information about Acura itself and the world of Acura, what's going on. And today we have some great topics about current production. We have some feedback, some questions. We've got a lot of great responses from our last episode and some of our other
It's officially episode 2. Officially episode 2.
I guess, yeah, episode 2, right? So we're going to touch on answer some of your guys' questions. We're going to get into some production things and tell you about a little bit about the Integra. And then we'll touch on a hot subject because Matt says it's time to talk about it. And that is...
What subject is that?
The pricing.
Oh, yeah. That's
oh
a hot
my
subject.
gosh. Yeah, that's...
So yeah, our goal, again, I'm Matt, and I come at you guys with a 8 years sales perspective. And our goal is to, again, just kind of bring some light, shed some light on some topics that are within the auto industry, and kind of provide some transparency that a lot of people don't get across, this genre, right, in the auto sales genre of information. So.
Right, and so again, I'm Justin, and I've been in this industry really my entire life since I was 14.
Since you were born?
Yeah, right. I was just fell right into the car dealerships, washing cars, and I've been doing this a long time. 18 years with Acura here, so between the two of us, we have a lot of time and information invested in the brand, and that's where we feel that we can provide some valuable information to the folks out there just that love the Acura and want Acuras and want to know everything about them. So here we are. Let's just touch on some of the feedback that we got and some of the questions and start there, because you guys had a lot of good feedback that we heard and some different questions that we received.
From different videos too, like not just this one, but when we have different YouTube videos. And we do appreciate the feedback because it does help obviously drive a little bit of what we talk about, because all of a sudden we know exactly what people are looking for, not just like what our first thoughts are.
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt, because when we do this, it is really, we just want to provide the information you want, right? And so when you provide feedback, you kind of tell us, a little bit of what we should be talking about and what kind of stuff you want. And so that's where this is awesome. And, share out with people the show, and not really for our benefit, but for their benefit, and so that we can get more of that feedback.
Right.
It's a kind of a snowball effect, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of different questions out there. We can't get to all of them, but I think one of the first ones that we've seen. Actually, I'll just go ahead and start with this one. Someone was asking. The question was, I was hoping to learn what the timeline is for getting an MDX once it's ordered by the customer.
Yeah, fantastic question. Wow. So I wish this was an easy black and white question, but it's not.
It's not even black and white for us.
Right. It is not black and white for anybody. It's not black and white for Acura right now. So what happens is you'll place that order with your dealership, and then unfortunately, and we kind of touched on this in the first episode a little bit, is Acura allows us an allocation of vehicles, and we take that allocation and we fill your order within that allocation.
Right.
The challenge is we don't know when the allocation of your particular vehicle will be available, and typically it's the same across the country though. So if I have an allocation, or we have allocation available for a particular, an A-spec MDX to use as an example, then I can fill your order in that. But if there are no allocations for A-spec MDXs, and we'll talk a little bit towards the end of the show about what was and wasn't available in that last allocation,
right.
Then they can't fill that order during that order process, and you'll have to go to the next one. And so it gets a little more granular than that. We can go farther down the rabbit hole, but in efforts to not make this a super, several hour long show, your order then will be filled in the next time frame. The good news, if there is some, because I know that was very gray and it was a very political maybe answer to your question, but the good news is the order cycle that we're looking at for the last ones that we just did is March April build. There will be another April-May build that those orders can be filled in. So we're still only 2-3 months in the big scheme of things, Matt.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I had we had ordered one for one of my clients recently, and he kept asking, "Am I going to get that? Am I going to get the car? Am I going to get the car? Like, is that going to be ordered?" Well, it's a hard gray area to answer that question, because if that allocation wasn't available to order that specific car, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's a shame on Acura kind of thing, because as a customer, from a customer's point of view, you want to feel like, hey, I'm placing that order. Why aren't you ordering that car? For me. I said, hey, here's my money. I'm ordering this specific combination. Why can't you just order it, right? And obviously, many people have dealerships they go back to specifically. Now, it's not impossible that another dealership can order that car, and we can't.
Well, not necessarily. So that's okay. What happens is that there's usually, if there's we can't order something, it's across the board. So there's inability to get that particular trim package is what it is. And right. So that what happens is there's supplier constraints down the lineup. And keep in mind when we're looking at, and I'll talk about MDX specifically, because we have a glutton of people, and I understand, that really want those top packages, the Advanced, the A-Spec, and those vehicles, the crisis going on right now is not only with labor and suppliers, but is with the chip shortage. And those vehicles have the most chips and computing in them than anything else that Honda and Acura make,
right.
And they take the most, right? So Acura determines on how many cars they can produce, and they say, well, if this vehicle takes 120 chips, but an Advanced MDX takes 250, and trust me when I say that, those options and equipment add an enormous amount of computing power.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then they're going to decide, do we build 2 of these and instead of 1 of these, right? And whether right, wrong, otherwise, they're like anybody, they're trying to maximize the output.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of brands that, that are taking away certain features out of some of their cars to be able to produce that, where Acura can't, they kind of stuck to this, the package thing, so they can't really do that. And I'm guessing, I don't think they would, but they're going to try to produce, what most people are asking for, and that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, and they use a good example of General Motors. I think, they deleted the heated seats on almost all but the highest trim levels, which seems like, everybody wants heated seats nowadays, especially when we talk about the Acura world, comes standard on all our cars. It would be, we wouldn't build every car without heated seats would be the craziest thing ever. Right. And I can't believe that, a consumer would even want that. I said, just wait until you build my car the right way, right?
Right. Exactly.
So you're right, Acura has not gone down that post. So, to answer your question, there is no specific time frame. It really is 2 to 3 months is probably the estimated expected time frame. Sometimes we get lucky, things get shift around when they can produce extra vehicles, and we'll talk a little bit about that with the MDX Type S. They'll give us what they call supplemental units to help fill those orders, and those are more immediate. Those are usually 2 to 3 4 weeks out in production, because they're already in the pipeline. They're just trying to fill holes in.
Right, so, and there are specific cars, like they send they send to certain things, and it may not be exactly what you're looking for, but if you're trying to get something sooner rather than later, maybe that's the ticket to go with. So next, hopefully that answered your question. I know there's a lot of other questions similar to that. Next question is, I've been calling dealers to see when, I don't know if I should even put the names of what people are asking, but we'll just ask the question. I've been calling dealers to see when are more of the TLX Type S going to be produced. I know they only made 2,000 of the 2021s, so I'm looking for a 2022 model.
Yeah, so you're right they are on the 2022s. Any 21 orders that were in the system have been moved to a 22, and I say that because I still have some orders in the system of 21s that got moved to a 22. And they were really starting to put these out at a good clip as towards the end of last year, and they have that has slowed down quite a bit. We haven't seen one in it's been a while since we've had one. And so I don't know if there's an issue on their end. I really don't. And we haven't been able to order one. So TLXs were not available to order in this last order cycle. So for March and April production, they're just going to build out whatever's in the system now. There was nothing allowed to be ordered across the TLX lineup, not just Type S orders. So on our next allocation, which will come in a couple weeks, we do expect not only CTLX, but I do expect to see a large percentage of those be Type S orders, and those would be April, May orders.
Right. And I think we always have theories on a lot of, we have theories on a lot of things, like why certain things happen, and maybe part of that is they were trying to allocate more chips or those resources toward the SUVs.
And that same powertrain going in the MDX Type S, they're them trying to get that vehicle launched, which it didn't even get launched. I'm sure stole, those pieces and parts, to put it bluntly, and they moved them over to the MDX Type S because they need to get that vehicle launched.
Right.
And there was no way to do it if they kept building TLX.
Right. And that they knew that the next set was going to be at 2022, so it's like, well, they felt like maybe they had some time. Again, we have theories on stuff. Right. None of that stuff. And this is stuff that we do try to ask those questions, like, hey, how can we be more transparent to our customers who have put orders in for cars, no matter what it is? And
and so part of what we want to do with the show is to help you navigate those waters, because when we ask that question, we get the deer in the headlights stare back at us, and we try to take all the data we have and give you as much of an answer as we can.
Yeah, unless we're tugging on like John's shoulder,
right.
Hey, what's going on? Like, we don't have that we don't have that far of insight, but
yeah.
All right.
So at TLX Type S, expect the next order cycle to be in a couple weeks. So if you have one that you want to get ordered, make sure you get with your dealer before then. So when that comes up, it's a small window for them to be able to order the car. As a matter of fact, we only have, it's really a day and a half. So whatever orders you have at that time, get in the system. So get with them beforehand if you want to get one of those on order for sooner than later, or you'll be looking at even a month after that.
Right. And this goes back to some of the stuff we'd said in the previous show, or like some of the calls that we get about, well, I'm just trying to find one. Well, again, this goes back to the allocation thing. Well, if there's only a certain amount of allocations they're making, and you're just trying to find one, well, people are putting those orders in. So
so they're taking those ones that would be available.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what happens. So finding one on the lots, again, is going to be challenging. So again, just try to, if you know what you have in mind of what you want, let your dealer know as soon as possible. Brent says in the final question we have here at the moment, says, thanks for the info, Mike. Oh, that was the beginning. They want us to condense the lead, so I'm not going to go into that. The colors of didn't comment on orderable MDX Type S colors. He asked if blue was open yet, also red.
Okay, so as we dive into the ordering, and I apologize for anybody that's not interested in the ordering information. Hopefully this is answering some questions for those of you that are. MDX Type S, yes. So we could not specifically order MDX Type S units specifically on this last allocation, meaning that sold orders would have to be filled by supplemental units, meaning that the country has so many cars that they have already allocated for production, and they're just distributing those out to the dealerships. And if we can fill an order based on one of those that we get, then we can fill your order that way. We were not able to order any Type S orders specifically. The good news, though, in all that is they did build all different colors. So I know that, we've had a gentleman that's been waiting for the white with the orchid interior, and the orchid interior has not been available at all for us to be able to order, but we do have one of those now coming. It is spoken for, by the way, to him. but using the example that they're producing that now, right? It's going to be, there's going to be, they're starting production on other colors. Again, it's important though that if there's a specific one you're looking for, as Matt said, to get with your dealer and make sure you have an order in place, and they know that because when those come out of the woodwork, just like those did kind of as a surprise, I wasn't able to order that. I just got that unit and I was able to match it to the customer. If your dealer doesn't know that and you're just waiting for that to happen,
that's right.
Wait that much longer, right?
Yep.
So
the longer you wait, the longer you wait. That's just how it is. So
the other vehicle that I didn't know this last week, and I was really surprised, is I was not able to order any advanced MDXs. So we were able to order quite a few tech packages. I talked about some of the colors that they eliminated and what they're, and we were able to order some A specs, but we were not able to order an advanced trim package. So I apologize again for those that are waiting for those advanced. But again, Acura's trying to balance, how many of these can we produce, and the advanced takes the most, and we want to get Type S ones produced. And so
And then it goes back to like the base model not being produced either. Like, that's one of, even though it doesn't require as many chips, it's just not as popular package as the other one. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. So a lot to do with orders, a lot to do with how do I get stuff, and again, we'll keep you posted on that as we go. On the orders, Integra. Let's talk Integra.
Oh, Integra. Okay.
It's Integra time. So Acura announced March 10th is the when the live portal on Acura's website will be available to pre-order an Integra. So let's rewind a little bit, because we had a question and we didn't quite answer that, because again, Acura doesn't always tell you everything, and I know you think we're dealers and you would know this stuff, but they
don't tell us that.
They don't tell us a lot because they don't want us to tell you like we are today.
Right.
But so the Integra is replacing the ILX. That's kind of been a clearer message from them, without saying the ILX is going away.
Right.
That there will be no more ILXs in the Integra. We mentioned that we thought we'd be ordering some of those the last order cycle. We will be ordering those now in the second week in March.
Yep.
And that portal opens the 10th. You can put a $500 deposit. You can choose the dealership of your choice for that car to be delivered, to get that car, and they can spec out how they want that vehicle. Beyond that, I don't have a whole lot of details on what.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, right. They do that a lot. They wanted to wait to, I don't want to say the last second, but they kind of wait until they say, okay, we're ready to launch that car, because they want to make sure that we obviously sell all of our ILXs that we have left. The other thing, and Justin, I know I'm just now asking you this because I know we kind of ran into this before with other vehicles, is it better to do the online deposit, or is it something that you should come into the dealer of choice that you want to go to and kind of place your deposit and order that way, so to speak?
So
we're into that. What was the other car that did?
They did that with the MDX Type S. Yeah. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that, Matt. They didn't necessarily give any additional priority. I mean, they tried to fulfill those orders probably,
right?
But they limited the colors that you're able to order on that, and I know that a lot of our customers didn't want those specific colors, so they didn't go that general route. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing with the Integra. The Integra volume is going to be much greater, so there should be more flexibility of what you can get. And you can use that reserve tool. If your local dealer is not on that as an option, though, just get with them. They will have orders at the same time. They'll be able to get the cars. It doesn't ensure you're going to get one any sooner than somebody else. It just gets you on the list,
right.
with an order that everybody kind of knows about. So it's not a terrible thing.
I think the only thing we thought about too is that, like, if you put your name out into the universe of, hey, I want this car, then you might get contacted by maybe multiple dealers.
Well, I think you're required to select the dealer of choice.
That's something that we'll have to.
Right. So it should only get contacted by just that dealer.
Yeah.
Unless some reason you can choose multiple, which I think would be kind of confusing. So I don't think they'll let you do that.
And so as we get closer to that date, we should have more info, obviously, about the car, and I'm sure. And we're not going to go into the car today. I don't think that's about that we were talking about, like, the release date and everything like that, but
because they expect. So I think they did say in that portal, and I'm just trying to pull up that information now. They did already have us pre-order accessory orders for that vehicle, right. Because they try to get a jump start on the availability of that stuff. So we already did order accessory items for Integra, which is exciting. That when that happens, then we know we're just around the corner, and that's kind of the telltale sign, because obviously if they start producing accessories, the vehicle's it's there, right?
On the tail, yeah,
right. So we have it'll go live. The reserve tool will be.
We're reading now what we
March 10th. It will be a $500 deposit that you'll give. a lot of people ask, is that a refundable deposit? Well, it should be refundable. There's no reason it's not, because obviously you haven't seen the car, right? You don't know what that car is like. Hopefully it's everything you think it's going to be. So there is a $500 deposit. You may let's. I'm just going down through this because I did not get. So there won't be a price at the time you reserve. So that's interesting. So I don't think they'll release pricing information on that vehicle. Yeah. You can just reserve it, and again, that's partly why it's refundable.
I think a lot of this has to do with they just want people to see. They want to see how many people are kind of interested in the car by saying, "Hey, go ahead and put a deposit." It's like that one company we talked about the other day. Here's put a deposit on something you don't know anything about, but yeah, as we get closer to that date too, obviously, I think there'll probably be more information out there.
Yeah, we'll provide you as the information comes out. We'll keep updating you on that. I was trying to catch the one piece of information. It looks like March. So it looks like this is end of April, beginning of May on sale date is what I see. So to give you just an idea of maybe when we might see that vehicle, looks like we're really close.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're a month and a half, 2 months away from
right. It's probably hopefully in the next order cycle, right? And that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe by that time we'll know more about the different packages that are available. We have no idea. I can already feel the next question coming. Is there going to be a Type S? I don't think we necessarily know that yet.
Yeah, we don't know that. If you go by what Acura's done in the past. There probably there might be, right? With that, Type S is new across all our trim packages. Right. They have them now, the TLX and MDX. But they typically release the vehicle first,
right,
in multiple different trim packages,
right,
and then.
So don't ask about the Type S yet.
Yeah, then they come out with that later, and that's more of a try to get the vehicle out on the market, get them built,
right?
Get them in the hands of people, and then come out with another one, not to be delayed. It's just a lot to try to do all that at once.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right, and they want to make sure the car's received well and everything like that. So
yeah, we do expect one though. I guess that's what you if you want to know what we think, right?
Yeah. Although they haven't done an RDX Type S.
Correct. Which a lot of people have asked about that too, and there has been talk. I just don't know. To be fair, when they designed the current RDX generation, Type S was not on their radar, and so whereas the TLX and the MDX were designed with Type S in mind, right from the ground up, and so I think it's where the challenge is: how do you retrofit a vehicle that wasn't designed to be a Type S to make it a Type S? I'd like to see one that would probably be a knock it out of the park vehicle.
Right. Yeah.
I'm afraid, though, we might have to wait till the next generation of the RDX before we see that.
Which changes everything because, I'm not going to get into that. Right. Also, it's like, it's an electrified car. Or something.
Right.
You just never know.
We won't talk about that. That's another show, another episode. I do want to talk about two other vehicles. We want to talk about the NSX. Real quick.
That's right.
So, the reason I only want to touch on this just fast, and I know that NSX is an awesome vehicle. It's really been a neat car that they came back out with, and kind of the new version of it. But what I don't think a lot of people understand or realize is that vehicle, this is its last year for that. They did make a Type S version out of that vehicle, but they limited the production of that vehicle to only 300 units globally.
Technically, 350. Remember,
350, right.
50 of them went to Canada, and then one of them technically was already sold at the, or I don't know, was it already sold at the auction? That it happened?
Well, I don't know if I don't know.
Well, it's going to auction, whatever. So technically, you only had 299. I mean, that the general public could potentially order.
For all of the United States. All United States. So it was, and we might be missing some numbers there because globally there was so many of them too. But it was a very limited quantity is the point of that. Yeah. And those are already gone. They were gone
within 2 days. Yeah, within
the first day or so.
If not the first day, for sure by the second day.
Unfortunately, if you didn't know about it ahead of time and you weren't able to jump on that try to get in line for one of those with your dealer, it's too late. And I keep seeing articles, and this goes back to why we do this, right? I keep seeing articles of you should get one of these before they're gone.
They're gone.
That ship has sailed. They're gone.
Yeah.
Right? They're all spoken for. You could try to find one in the secondary market. Those cars they were very strict on. In other words, they need to be delivered to the person that ordered them. It cannot be that person can't change that order to somebody else, and they have to be kept, believe it or not, for I think a minimum of a year.
Right. Well, similar like the Ford GT did that same thing, right? But there was that one celebrity that tried to, I forget who it was now. They tried to sell it who was that?
That was the wrestler, one of the wrestler celebrities.
But anyway, so he John Cena maybe.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he so he tried selling it, and Ford was like, no, you're not allowed to do that, and so on and so forth. So similar thing with this car. That's why we wanted to address it, because you see these articles out there. They're like,
just saw one yesterday. The other day.
Make sure you get one. Well, I'm sorry, it will be the secondary market by the time you would get one, and who knows what someone might try to sell that for at that point.
Yeah. Incredible car. It's a shame that Acura I limited that so much. I mean, you can make a limited production car and still make some availability. But with all the constraints and everything going on, when they did release that, I don't know if they knew what they could
that's
produce.
True. Right. Yeah.
And I think they're struggling to get out the ones they have.
Exactly.
That is a unique car. It is at the PMC or Performance Manufacturing Center. Those vehicles are hand built
right here in Ohio.
And it's quite a process to hand build a car. And
it's sad, but we'll see what the future holds in that car.
So there's a little talk about what the next NSX might look like, but we won't go into that.
And then PMC, I know we had talked about PMC. RDX, just for a brief second, that's another one of those cars where Acura had on their website for a long time. People talking about it. We still kind of get people, and same thing with the NSX, people calling, hey, can I order one? But unfortunately, that ship has sailed too.
Yeah, PMC was the same thing. It was a limited number, and I'm not even sure how they determine. Usually, they give every dealer an opportunity to get so many of those. I mean, they were gone before we even...
Right, before you even said, hey, could we have a P? Gone.
They were gone. So, what makes that... reason why we bring it up is it was on Acura's website to be able to build out as an option for a long time. And every review, for the first so many reviews, were on a PMC.
It was a PMC.
Right. That car doesn't exist. No, I mean, and the good news is they have the advanced A-spec version, and it is basically a PMC, just not in
the color. Exactly. Because there was no other, package differences,
right?
Other than it. Obviously the PMC has a placard saying how many out of so many,
and it's hand built.
Well, there's that. So,
but you can get that trim package and equipment on a regular advanced 22 A-spec RDX.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just going that back down to. I think that kind of covers all the orders and product updates, and I apologize that it takes so long to go through all that. Matt is really on this. He just circled it again. He really wants to talk about what people, because we get a lot of feedback, and I think this stems, we get a lot of feedback in our comments about what dealers are charging to get your hands on one of these vehicles.
Yeah, that is a very common question and comments, that we get on a lot of our videos, people calling, you name it. And that's obviously, when you're buying a car, that's what you're doing. You're buying a car. So what does MSRP have to do with that? And where are we at with different dealers out there?
So this is it's a touchy subject. Are most dealers? I had this really neat article that I came across, and I don't even know if I'll dive into that because we are cutting on time. But in January, over 82% of the vehicles in the entire industry were sold at MSRP or above. And so that's a staggering number, and a lot of people have been saying, gosh, my dealer's charging so much, no thanks for this car, not interested. And we're probably different on this whole subject because we are not charging over MSRP as a lot of dealers are. Now, don't take this video and run straight to your local Acura dealership and share that with them. That's up to them, right?
Right.
They have their own overhead expenses
Yeah.
and their own reasons for doing that.
Absolutely.
Ours is a long-term commitment to our customers that, yes, things are in short supply. We do need to make a good profit on a limited number of vehicles to be able to support the infrastructure, the building, the employees, because
Right.
there's so few vehicles.
Right.
But we're not going to gouge people. We're not going to charge over that. I guess they're calling it a market adjustment.
Right, and that's what, every dealer has their own like verbiage for how they're saying,
right.
How much we're going to charge over MSRP. And Justin's right, that every business, this is a business, and every one of those businesses has to operate a certain way. They have their operating costs, they have their overhead, all that kind of stuff. They have to be able to pay their employees, they have to be able to keep the lights on. All those things kind of play into where they're pricing things. Now, in some cases might be the case that they feel, hey, we're going to be charging because we can. And that's up to the consumer then to buy it or not.
I guess so. To the comments that we get, not everybody is, and I can say that even just from my conversations I had across our dealer, that we do dealer trades with and we have relations with. There's some that are, and there's some that aren't. It's really, as a consumer, if it's not because you went to one and they were asking $5,000 extra for that MDX Type S, doesn't mean that they all are. Mm-hmm. And that's, I guess, the part of the point of our conversation is you just need to find the ones that aren't. And, it's up to you if you want to, try to negotiate with them or not. That's not up for us to say and not for us to recommend.
Right. Exactly. To that point, and there's that article that we talked about the other day. The guy, he really wanted a Tacoma, but didn't want to pay $5,000 over sticker.
That was a neat article in Car and Driver, fight against dealership markups, and that's if you want to look that up. And nobody wants to pay over MSRP for anything. But it's like any business, I don't like paying, too much money for a face mask in the midst of COVID, but everybody had to if you wanted to find one, right? And so what'd you do? You either bought the one that was there, or you kept searching for another one, and it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
I know it's not the same, but it is the same. We have operating costs. We're getting a fraction of the cars that we were getting before, so our opportunity to even just sell those cars is dropped dramatically. So do we need to make a little bit more per car? Sure, mm-hmm. and that's where this is coming from. Are some places taking a full advantage of that? Absolutely. It's up to you as a consumer, though, if you decide to do business with them or find the ones that aren't.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and the other side of that, too, is, I think the main sentiment I wanted to echo here is maybe, there's a lot of stuff out there talking almost like negatively about these dealers that are doing that. That's up to each consumer to decide whether or not that is the case. But again, you got to remember, they're doing what they potentially are trying to do to make the same or to have the same type of profits that they did prior to. So they're trying to maximize those opportunities. So just keep that in mind. Just keep in mind it's nothing personal. It is a business choice. And again, it is a choice for you as a consumer to decide, okay, is this the right place for me to go or not?
So I dug up that article, and I thought you had couple interesting stats in here. And this was to give credit where it was due. It was thedrive.com put this article out. And he states that the average new car buyer spent $728 over MSRP for their purchase in January. Different brands had different amounts that was over. I will say that, I use the example of Cadillac and Land Rover. They were clipping at an average of $25.65 over MSRP. And the Kia brand, the brand alone across the country, this is a staggering number, of 22.89% over MSRP, which in a relation as a percentage to the MSRPs, theirs was the highest.
Which is kind of weird for that type of brand.
So
wait a second.
When we bounce back to that, if you're paying, the general public's paying almost $2,300 more for a lower priced car, I can't fault the Acura dealers that are asking a little bit over MSRP for a more expensive, less volume product than what people are paying for Kias. I'm sure we're gonna get all kinds of comments and stuff. That's up to you to decide. We are not, I guess, and the whole point is we are not charging over MSRP for vehicles. That is our choice. That's our business model to provide a long-term relationship. However, we are looking for customers for that long-term relationship. And what do we want from the customer? Well, we want someone that's local in our market, that we can service that car and have an opportunity for friends and family and to sell them another car down the road.
Right.
That's what we give up for not charging over MSRP. If I'm going to sell a car across the country, I would just as soon charge MSRP too, because I will get no more value out of that sale down the road.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's where there's so much. There's no, I think there's no like right answer to any of that, right? Whether you're on the consumer side or whether you're on the dealership side, obviously we just have to do what we can to try to stay in business. Some places maybe they only have an Acura store. We have other stores, so it kind of helps us out a little bit. So there's lots of.
Yeah, and we can touch again on this to what goes into those components, because maybe as a consumer you say, well, how do I find that? There are a lot. Matt just touched on one of them. We have this ability, because we're part of a dealer group here, to take our expenses and our costs and average them out across the stores. So we don't have the same type of overhead and expenses that a lot of single point, only Acura dealer might have. So we're able to do some different things. We share a lot of resources through our campus of stores that other dealers just aren't able to do.
Absolutely.
But there's some, we can give you some tricks and some different things that you can use as leverage in future episodes to help get, a better price and negotiate that down.
And one last thing to touch on with that, when we talked a little bit about this last time, incentives. So there's not really incentives from the manufacturer either. So some of that money that you might have been able to discount might have been incentive money. So
right, and so and that goes back to the maybe they're making more per car, but it's not always as transparent as it seems, because they might have been getting incentives back from the manufacturer before of $1,000, so they could discount that car $1,000 and still retain the same profit margins, and you as a consumer. So the factory's not giving any of those incentives across the board right now.
Yeah,
exactly. Really, are there a few exceptions to that rule? Maybe, but they've all pulled back because. They have one less car, multiple less cars per customers that want them.
Exactly.
And we'll see this ease up. Do I think that prices are going to drop dramatically below MSRP? And we'll talk about that in a future episode. But no, probably not. But we'll see the markup above MSRP start to dwindle back down, mainly because their supply will start to open up.
Right, and that's the bit it's all about supply, right? And it's funny because the demand is still pretty high. It's interesting how we've had that demand being still high in this time where everyone's like, well, there's no cars available. I'm like, well, people are obviously still buying cars. So
that just speaks to the amount, how little production is out there. The industry was down. I wish I had those exact numbers. I don't have them in front of me. But it was down, millions and millions of units last year. So people that would normally have purchased cars, they're probably, still a large percent of those people that want to buy cars, so and they're just not able to keep up with that pace. And so you run into that. And, for us in the Midwest, weather has a lot to do with it. So right now is technically our slower time, because if you can look back in the window out there. I mean, it's 20 degrees and there's ice and snow out there. Well, people don't want to buy cars typically in that time as much as they do coming up here when the weather starts to change and it's 60, 70 degrees and nice. That's when everybody wants to get out. We'll talk about some of those. There's some little things that you can use as a consumer also to know when's a good time to buy, right? I will say, at that peak in the spring when it's 70 degrees, you and everybody else want to come out and buy a car.
That's right.
That's when the shortage of cars will be the greatest, meaning prices will be up. So if you are in the need for a car, I wouldn't say waiting until spring's a good idea.
Right.
If you can find what you want now, there's a better shot of negotiating, creating a better overall deal, and negotiating doesn't necessarily mean paying MSRP or not. Maybe it's not paying $5,000 over MSRP.
All right, absolutely.
And negotiating that down, you're going to have a better shot at it now than you are as spring comes, because the availability of cars still won't be that great, and as that weather starts to change, people get out and want to do things.
And we felt that way a long time, like even before this all started, with the winter time.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, there's no one here. If you come in, you're probably going to be more likely to get a better deal.
And that's a whole other episode. Maybe we'll do one like that. And when's just a good time to buy? And Matt and I have already talked about, is this now a good time to buy a car? And there's times where I'll say no, it's not a good time. And there's situations where a lot of you could be in where it is a great time, and we'll break that down and why that makes sense. And I know a lot of places are saying don't buy a car right now. Well, yes and no. You could lose out on a lot depending on your situation. So,
like if your trade has a lot of equity.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that outweigh the bad, right? So don't just crawl in the hole. And I know if you've seen this on the comments saying, well, having to pay $5,000 over MSRP, I'm not buying a car. I'll wait. Again, find the right dealership,
right.
And then also look at your total, what you're trying to accomplish, because you might be losing out on some huge opportunities if you wait versus do something now in this market. We'll talk about it on another episode. Maybe we'll dive into that if Matt twists my arm on the next one. It is a touchy area, and boy, do we hate talking about pricing, but it is really important to know that there are places out there that aren't charging those prices. Hopefully there's one close to you. Hopefully if there isn't, you can convince somebody that's not too far away from you to do the deal that makes sense. And when I talk about negotiations, just going in, and if they're asking $5,000 at MSRP and you offer the one guy that's at MSRP, $2,000 under MSRP,
sure.
You're not going to get a good response, right? That's bartering. That's not negotiations.
That's right,
because there's not two parties aren't winning there, right?
Right. That's right.
So make sure you're going at it at a wise rate and do your due diligence. Get out there, find that dealer.
Because most dealers want to sell a car, right?
Sure.
There's still that cost there, so they want to do the right thing, but keep in mind as a consumer, it's like we don't want to entertain offers that are just kind of like silly either. So
right, and we don't want to lose out on our opportunity when we have one of something to at least get a fair profit, right? We're not looking to make a ton of money on every car. So, oh boy, that's a lot, and I know we just had a ton of information in there. This went, it's hard to keep these at a
20 to 30 minutes.
Small amount of time when there's so much information. I feedback on that, guys. Is there less or more you want to hear about? Should we separate the shows? Maybe we could separate the information in different shows. That's up to you guys. There's a lot of stuff we just do want to get out there and talk about. So
there's probably going to be a lot at the beginning here over the first handful of episodes, and then over time it'll probably slow down. Lastly, did you want to mention the auto show?
Yeah. Oh, great point. So Cleveland Auto Show. Auto shows in general, right? They've been touch and go. A lot of them been canceled because of Omicron and last year, COVID, and you don't want to gather people in a place. And I get it.
Right, exactly.
So, but our local auto show here in Cleveland is happening at the end of this month. Right now, though, for the people who live in the Midwest, the Chicago Auto Show, I believe, is going on right now. Why we bring that up, not because we want to give awareness. I don't care whether you go to the auto show or not, but it is an awesome opportunity to get to see some of these cars that are not at your local dealership.
Right. And to be fair, we don't know what it's going to look like this year in terms of how many cars are going to be there. So that's the only challenge of that. So,
but it gives you an opportunity, because I know there's so many brands that just do not have anything to see. And we try to keep. We talked about that last time. Try to keep a handful of different ones here for people to see. I know in our update in our meetings with I was sitting talking with our Subaru store. They don't have one of every model. They don't even have a couple of any models, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in the market to compare different cars, if I want to compare different cars, I can't just go to that store and find those cars, right? So the auto show is a neat way to be able to go and put your hand on a majority of cars and get a feel for them, right?
Yep.
And then hopefully you can dive down into who has one, where can I drive one, and see all that afterwards.
And it is going to be at the IX Center. If anyone's familiar with Cleveland, we're going to have it in downtown Cleveland, the convention center. So if anyone is concerned about the virus or anything like that, IX Center is huge. So if you haven't been there, it's pretty spread out, wide open. So it is a neat place to go.
Yeah, and just as appreciation, if you hung on now, because we've been rambling on for 40 plus minutes,
Right.
as appreciation, anybody that lives here in the local Cleveland market, I will throw this out. I do have a neat little stack right over here of
Nice stack.
Cleveland Auto Show's tickets for Dealer Appreciation Night, and this is on the February 25th.
Hold up the there, see it?
Yeah, February 25th. If you want tickets for Dealership Appreciation Night, reach out to us. We'll get some out to you.
We don't have other tickets. Those are the tickets.
These are the tickets we have. Unfortunately, I do not have the passes they give us for the all day, every day are very limited. But I do have Dealership Appreciation Nights. It will get you in the door. It'll save you some money. Parking is free at the auto show. So that's cool. If you want them, reach out to us. I appreciate you guys listening to us.
Stop on in.
Yeah, stop in, or I don't mind probably dropping some in the mail to you if you can't make it in. But
yeah, and if you want to hear a longer version of this show, just stop in any day and sit in with us, and we'll talk to you all day long.
So thanks again for tuning in. We'll, again, feedback, subscribe, so you know when the next show comes out. Matt did an awesome video, if you didn't already see it, on the MDX Type S, comparing the different trim packages in the A-Spec package. Fantastic response with that video. You did an awesome job on that. We'll keep those things coming out to it, but it's really important for us for you to share this out and us to get that following and get the response back, so we know how to tailor it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. All right.
Thanks, well, thanks again.
You can go home now.
Yeah, we can get you.
You get to go home.
I get to go. All right.